What up, guys? Welcome back to Base Damage. Today is a deck profile, but I didn't want to record it physically with a camera just because it was easier to do it this way. Also, because I can share the link for this on from Decklog that anybody can come up here and check it out themselves. But this is a deck that I've been working on the side for a Darkness deck from Konosuba, and I went with this build for two reasons. This is very budget. This is very cheap. I think the Chris might be the only one that's like kind of got a price to. No, I'm sorry. It's this level 3 Darkness that has a bit of a price to it, but this can be replaced with like another level 3 or something. But I mainly wanted to make it because of this. This particular card has a fusion effect, which I'm a big fan of Gurren. So I really like how you can do the combine thing and summon a level 3 from deck at level 2. It's just really cool, and I like the concept of it. The climax combo is also very interesting. When I did research into like building a deck based around this, I found out there's a level 1 that just helps facilitate the combos and everything. So we're going to get into this. I call it Konosuba Dankness because best girl, dank as hell, to each their own. I tried to put in as many Darkness cards as possible, but there are some Chris and Veneer cards that just help the deck. Obviously, you have to have the Veneer anyway for the fusion, so it just works out. You just kind of have to, which is a play off of, I forget which season it was, but there was a season of Konosuba that, like, she fused with the little mask thing or whatever, like Veneer, like, his mask or whatever got on her, and they combined, so it made sense for like the whole fusion effect. So the only thing I don't like about Decklog is that they do the level 3s first and then I work my way down, so we're just gonna have to do that and have to get used to this format. It's just easier to present decks this way. But I have this exact deck in real life, I've tested it, and it's honestly really fun. Still working on a couple like tweaks and like optimizations, but for the most part, I'm enjoying the hell out of this. So let's just get right into it. Obviously, like I said, get right to the bread and butter, the deck, the card that I wanted to base the deck entirely around for the fusion aspect and for the climax combo. So this level 3 Darkness is 9k, but it gets 500 power for each of your other adventure or magic characters. So it can become an 11k base, like if you have a full field. Pretty cool. When it's placed on stage from your hand or by the fusion effect, the combined thing, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose 1 card amongst them, put it to your hand, put the rest into your waiting room. This lets you, because it's any card, you can grab the climax for it, which is really good. So the climax combo being, when this card attacks, if my defensive strength is in your climax area, and you have 4 or more other adventure or magic characters, this card gets the following ability until the end of your opponent's next turn. This has an offensive and a defensive thing. When damage dealt by this card, this ability activates up to 1 time per turn. When damage dealt by this card or the character facing this card is canceled, you may deal 1 damage to your opponent. So offensively, the turn that you do this and attack with it, it has cancel burn of 1. Pretty cool. But also for 1 turn during your opponent's turn, if they swing at her and you cancel the damage that they hit with, you can attempt to burn them for 1 as well. So it's just a neat little, like, it basically has the chance of going off twice. It's just really nice. For no, like, stock or anything, the biggest cost is you have to have a full field to do this effect, which is pretty easy considering, like, you replenish your hand on play, and with the fusion effect and everything, you're just able to, like, cheese her out at, like, level 2 as well. So you could have multiple turns of pulling this effect off, which is really cool, especially if you're able to, like, do multiple fusions or just add more to your hand and just summon them. So this is really cool, and I've definitely have enjoyed doing this. The effects don't always go off, but it's just a nice little thing to be able to do. The only downside to this deck, I will admit, is there's no... if I remember correctly, yeah, there's no level 3 healer. So you have no healing at level 3 right now. I will say that right out the gate. So maybe if I could change around and maybe replace 2 copies of this with another Darkness that heals or something, I might do that. But for the most part, we're just sticking with this. This darkness is from the first set. When your opponent has a level 3 or higher character, this gets -1 level in your hand. So it can early play if your opponent has also done an early play. If the number of other adventure characters you have is 2 or more, this gets 1500 power, making her a 10k and hexproof. This card cannot be chosen by your opponent's effects. Really strong, considering if you early play her in, they can't anti-change her with, like, say, backups or something. Like some anti-change backups they specifically target, and just this doesn't do that. Now, if they have a reverser, like an anti-change reverser that like bottom decks it or puts her to stock or something, that doesn't stop. The hexproof doesn't stop that. So, to my knowledge, it doesn't. If I'm wrong, please correct me. At the beginning of your opponent's draw phase, this card is in your center stage, choose one of your characters, and that character gets 4,000 power till end of turn. You could just give it to her, and she's a 14k for your opponent's turn, or even give it to the other level 3 to make certain that it survives multiple turns to get that cancel burn off multiple times, which is really cool. During this card's battle, when the damage you receive is not canceled, you may pay 2 and pitch 1, and if you do, deal the same damage to your opponent. This is just a really strong card overall, and this is pretty cool. I've seen this card win games for like other people. It's just really strong overall. This is probably the only super expensive card in the deck. I don't know how much it's going for though, off the top of my head. Obviously, that's for the level 3s. The only level 2 is this Fierce Battle Veneer. On play, you can pick up to 2 copies of the level 3, put it on the bottom of your deck in any order. And obviously the fusion. You put this specific level 0 darkness under it as a marker, and then you get to summon this level 3 dankness from your deck to the field. And it gets this, and the other one is markers underneath it. This is the only level 2, but this is all you really need. So, because your level 2 that's coming out are like one of, probably, maybe both, who knows? But yeah. And getting right to the level 1s, we have Soul Redeeming Feature Darkness. This is a neat little tech that I'm just kind of messing around with. Darkness doesn't have a lot of interesting level 1s in terms of like big beats, like big walls or beat sticks for the most part. Nothing that I could find that wasn't like, there's another like 1/1 that's like, if it gets reversed, you forcibly take a damage. I don't want that. That's just me personally. But this did have a neat little effect. If the character facing this card is cost 0 or lower, she can't become reversed, which is really nice. And at the beginning of your encore step, if you don't have any other rested characters on your center stage, you can pay 1 stock to rest her. So really good. Just I like this. It's just a neat little tech. I only got 2 in here. 2 copies of this Endurance is my forte darkness. During your turn, she gets an extra 1,000 power, so she becomes a 105k on your turn. But if she dies, if she gets sent to the waiting room, you can look up to 4 cards from the top of your deck and add a climax amongst them to your hand, trying to facilitate more of your combos, obviously setting up for the fusion. If you do add a card with this effect, you have to discard 1 as well, so that's all good. The level 1 climax combo is this Shivering from Disparagement Darkness. 104k, and she gets 500 power for each of your other adventure magic characters. Meaning, full field, she's a 6k base defensively, which is, I really like climax combos that have cards like this. That have like, oh, the climax combo, the card is still big, and she doesn't have to reverse, which is really nice. When this attacks, if Orc Invasion, which is the 1k1 spin trigger right here, if that is in play, and you have 2 or more other adventure magic characters, choose one of the following effects and perform it. You get to, basically this lets you do one of 2 things. Either you can add back that level 2 Veneer or this level 0 dankness from the waiting room, or you can search your deck for for either 1 copy of the Veneer or 1 copy of the dankness from your deck and add it to hand. So if you don't have any in the deck, you can, if you know that you have none in the deck, you can still grab from the waiting room and vice versa. Really cool, and those are just your fusion combo pieces, which is great. I like being able to do that and just facilitate getting the fusion cards ready. If Gurren Lagann had something for this to be able to grab like the Gurren and the Lagann to be able to make the combine, like that would be so cool personally. But either way, I like that you can do it with this dankness. So this Veneer is also just kind of a tech. When this card becomes reversed, if the battle opponent is cost 0 or lower, you may put that character into your opponent's stock. And if you do, put the bottom card of your opponent's stock into his or her waiting room. The second effect is that doesn't even matter because I don't run Power of Mass Darkness. I've contemplated like teching it in, and you could, but for the most part, this is just here for the reverser. So the last level one is this Blocking the Way Darkness. It is a 2K backup. To simplify the effects, is a 2K backup, and since you already have a defensive 6K, she can become an 8K before any other buffs or whatever, which there are definitely more buffs. We're going to get to that. But, you know, being able to have that defensive ability is really cool. So, then getting into the level 0s, we have Beauty in a Yukata Darkness. When this is placed on stage from hand, you can mill the top 3 cards of your deck to the waiting room. And when this card is placed on stage from hand, you can pay 1 and discard a climax. If you do, choose a climax in your waiting room, return it to your hand. So you got the level 1 climax, but you need the level 3 climax. Let's just drop and swap. So, really good. I'm just taking 1 copy of it for the fuck of it. It's kind of cool. Then we have Sightseeing in the Crimson Demon Village Darkness. It's a 0/0/15. During your opponent's turn, if all of your other characters are adventure or magic, this gets +1 level. I said -1 for some reason. This gets +1 level and 1500 power. So on your opponent's turn, it can be a level 1 3K. So your opponent can't just like suicide bombs into it or whatever. When this is placed on stage from your hand, you can pitch a climax to salvage back an adventure or magic character. So really cool and neat little bit of utility. So 3 copies of that. A Knight's Duty Darkness. This is a promo. I don't know if you can still get this for a decent price anymore, but I was able to snatch up a playset. When this attacks, you may put the top card of your deck into your waiting room. If it's a climax, draw a card and then discard 1 card. When this becomes reversed, if the battle opponent is level 0 or lower, you can stock bomb and send them to the opponent's stock and put the bottom card of your opponent's stock into his or her waiting room. Just really good promo overall. I thought this was really neat. Also, especially like if you end up like milling the top card of your deck, you don't really care as much. The other reason for that is my defensive strength is actually a choice. I didn't state that at the beginning, and I apologize. But I have like you got all these. I realize that doesn't have a trigger, but if you can mill one of the ones that have like a trigger and you trigger the choice, pretty cool. Be able to get them back to your hand. 3 copies of Sending Off Chris. During your turn, your other character in the middle position of the center stage gets 1500 power. This can make like this level 1 darkness pretty strong. Like that means she's a 75 before anything else. If you have this one in middle center, before you play the climax, then that could make her a 85 offensively. Like that's pretty cool. The neat thing for this though is this is like the best brainstormer for yellow in general. Pay 1, tap 2, rest 2 of your characters, mill 4. For each climax revealed, search your deck for up to 1 yellow or adventurer character. Most of the deck is adventure anyway, but like say for example, the Veneer is Mask and Magic, but it's yellow, so it doesn't matter. You can still grab it. Any of the other brainstormers will typically just have like adventure or magic, to which you wouldn't be able to say grab your level 2 or you want another brainstormer, for example, or whatever. Any of the darkness cards are all adventure, so it all falls under that category. But say you haven't been able to get like your fusion pieces, this would let you grab the level 2 Veneer because he's yellow. So really good. 3 copies of this, and this is from the first set, I think. I think it's from the first set. It is a double rare though, so just be wary of the prices on that. Then 4 copies, you have to run 4 copies of this. A Break in the Forest Darkness. This is your other piece to the fusion combo. But in it of itself is still a very powerful card. It's a 500 assist in front, pretty cool. And an act ability to pitch a copy of her and rest her to salvage back an adventure or magic character in your waiting room and return it to your hand. Now because it does say magic, you can still get Veneer with it. So because he is magic. So you can still get back that. You can get any character in your deck with this card, this salvage effect. So that is really good. You just have to pitch extra copies of her. That's the only thing. But when, 1, you have a play set. 2, your level 1 combo just helps you facilitate that even more. It doesn't matter. You can grab extra copies if you specifically need to pitch and grab for the backup. Grab whatever utility you need. If you like, You have cost zeros that are annoying. Let me grab one of these. That's whatever. Or you want to get the Brainstormer. Also really good. And lastly, to round out the characters, we have 2 copies of Dumbfounded Darkness. When this card is placed on stage from your hand, look up to 2 cards from the top of your deck, put them back on top of your deck in any order. When this card is placed on stage from your hand, choose one of your adventure or magic characters, and that gains 1500 power until end of the turn. The little buff is kind of neat. The extra mill is whatever, or not mill, I'm sorry. The being able to like top check is whatever, but it still can be pretty good, especially if you like go first and you drop this. You could look at the top 2, and for example, if you see one's a climax and one isn't, you can make it so the climax is the second card. Attack with this, and you know your stock is clean, and you know whatever your opponent attacks with is probably going to get canceled. If it's a very niche thing, but it can happen. I say niche, but it's not going to happen every single time, but it can. But that's just like one example of many that you could do, which is pretty cool. And obviously, 4 copies of My Defensive Strength, which is a choice trigger, 1k1, and 4 copies of Orc Invasion, which is a 1k1 spin trigger. When I was testing this deck out, it was extremely fun. The entire deck's yellow. For the most part, the fusion core with the level 3, the level 1, and the climax combos and everything needed for it is very cheap. So if you wanted to make a deck based around just these 2 combos, you can still make that extremely cheap. Even if you wanted to add in other cards, you wanted to add in Aqua or Megamine or whatever. You can easily do that. So I just wanted to go like a mono yellow pure darkness route, or as pure as I can possibly get it. As pure as darkness herself is, right? Wink. But I was able to pick up these for like really cheap at the time, so it's kind of whatever to me. So you can make this way more budget than I have it in here between like the double rares and whatnot. If you can get your hands on this, Chris, go for it. This is, if I had to pick between like one double rare to try to prioritize, it would honestly be this, just because it's so good. But this darkness is also just extremely powerful. It is so good. But there's a reason it has a price tag. So, yeah, with that, thank y'all for checking in. I hope you like the deck profile. Like and subscribe if you want. If not, hey, thanks for stopping by to check out the deck. And that'll do it. We will see y'all on the flip side. Peace.